Ladies, don't forget the great spaghetti. And I mean real, authentic women that Christians see as women. Natural women. True Christians. No gays or trannies, etc. So, if for nothing else, I want you to think of what do we call women's vaginas? In what sense are associated? Remember, before people really um, wore different colognes to a large degree and they had soap, we see the story of Jacob and Esau and the scent, as their father was dying and he was giving the birthright away. Well, you have the fish, right? All jokes aside. And it's called pussy. Like pussycat, catwoman, bubastis, bast, agility, etc. Let's think about the logos, right? I've already covered the May, the yam, the Mayflower, cultivation, May weather, right? Logos backwards is so goal. And agul is pain, to turn to stone, right? And it has to do with the devil's stone and alcohol. Also, if you consider the G is silent, you do the wordplay, you get soul. You lose your soul, especially over defying the logos. And of course, you feminists and women in general seem to be conforming to the New World Order because of the resource scare, which certainly has some truth to it as a result of a greedy, careless, selfish society. And the trajectory of mind control and oppression and technology and, just the ruthlessness of the elite as their families certainly must be expanding to a certain degree. That is part of their eugenic philosophy, to breed with hypergamy into quote unquote good stock, which is really evil, selfish scum. I think all of us understand that. I mean, how stupid would you have to be to not see it that way? These people are filth. They're artificial. So artificial. Think of the vile liberal, Satan as the liberator, quote unquote, of gays and women and scientists and atheists and agnostics. And you have variations of these groups, satanic feminists, the satanic gay community that was on Facebook, atheistic Satanism, and agnostics who lead towards selfishness to survive because they don't believe, and so on. Scientific Satanism. So when we consider artifice, ars facere, fake, artificial, artificial, and I've gone over, I believe, already how artists deal in illusions. They deal in trying to, the age of realism, the age of romanticism, I believe it was called, and so on, the different artwork that was associated with it, the age of enlightenment, and so on, And of course, it wasn't true enlightenment, it was Luciferian garbage for sort of ethnocentrism and racial supremacy and deplorable ideas such as these that people allow to come between them and God. And I think we all see the Christians who do that as hypocrites, and we don't respect them. We kind of respect other characteristics of them, perhaps, but on the deepest level of, you're disgusting. Christianity is about carrying your cross. It's not about losing your life. I've used this quote many, many times. Matthew 10, 38. Whoever does not, let's talk about 37. Whoever loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. And of course, eventually, if anybody makes these arguments in Christianity, and Christianity isn't used to neutralize the bootlickers while they're screening them out, certainly Christianity will go as well. And I'd say we're better off letting it go if we're not going to be real Christians than allowing Satan to use it to glorify himself and some kind of racial supremacy while screening out the vulnerable individuals and the least of the brethren that we're supposed to do for. That which you do for the least of the brethren, you do for me. And that, when you turn your back on them, you're fucking scum. So you turn your back on the saints, the prophets, the prince of Judah, the least of the brethren, the poor, the vulnerable individuals. Yes, you're scum. You're supposed to speak on their behalf, just like Martin Luther King pointed out, with the Good Samaritan, the sanitation workers, etc. So moving on, the ascent going back in time upwards versus descent. So when you go back to the old kingdom, you're ascending to a time of a divine order, even in their red covered book perspective with an eye, and they admit in it that the red is the cover of evil, Egyptian mythology by Paul Ham and Veronica Ions. They admit that there was a divine order, a Mayat, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out that these people, Kush, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, um, Sudan, certainly must have been referred to as Kushites. And if you look back at Abyssinia, referring to all Africans, certainly the lack of an explanation for the other peoples certainly must relate to the idea that Kush spread toward the heart of Africa to the west, which became the center in more than one way, and the most populous nation, Nigeria and Biafra, the Christian part of it, versus the murderous, rapist Fulanis who, anyone who's seen Tears of the Sun knows the difference between the moon and the sun, and the terrorists and the Christians, and the victims and the aggressors, and the sickos, the brutal barbarians and their barbaric tactics from the desert where God deserted versus the vine, which is green, and the people who are trying to hold it down. All right, moving on, with all due respect. Moving on, we get to artists. Again, they're adept at deception. They deal in illusion, age of romanticism, age of realism, age of enlightenment, the different artworks, and what I talked about with despicable ethnocentric perspectives, time and time again. So the British Empire, you look up Obi in the Webster's dictionary I've been using. They say Obi is for Obad or Obadiah. Obe, which is Obi as well, is officer of the Order of the British Empire. Okay, so you see how Obad or Ob stands for Obadiah, right? As if the Obi prophet is the bad guy, and the Obi officer of the Order of the British Empire is the good guy. So the Obi-Wan they're referring to in Star Wars is kind of like a gay British Germanicus, Teutons, Anglo-Saxons, where they overlap with Rome and the Roman Empire, kind of Viking almost perspective. This kind of Nordic look, trying to be the Khan's whore to con us all, right? Don't forget the Khan's whore, the fake Greco-Roman perspective. So I went over the minimum, minor, mining, shove L, right? Miners use a shovel, shove L aside, and mine in the minor, and you can understand what that entails and how it's repulsive. So we go back to yam. It is part of the Dioscorea genus, and Dioscorea reul family. And so you get Dioscuri, which is the patron of athletes, soldiers, and marchers. How many of you think it's a coincidence that a lot of the greatest athletes in American history, when blacks only 13% of America, are of African American descent, and ultimately 1.5 million Ibo slaves came to the Americas, South Carolina especially, and so on. Certainly they mixed with the other African Americans. They didn't exactly know their identity, so they mixed with other tribes. And here you have Ibos, Angolans, Congolese, but mostly, Ibo heavy mix. Certainly Martin Luther King looks like my uncle in Ibo and so on. People coming out to be some of the more effective soldiers and Marines, and certainly the most effective athletes at the most popular sports, generally speaking, other than perhaps baseball, but the ones that actually require athletic skill, such as basketball and football, and ultimately me dominating the martial arts better than anyone in American history. And certainly Africans disproportionately, their descendants disproportionately represented in the UFC, even though that black people don't have the access to the good gyms and the expensive trainers, and they can't afford to train MMA, generally speaking. So we go back to, and I mean no offense, let's just get to the bottom of this, what this means for ancient Egyptian society, migrations of people, and primitive combat and warfare. I've gone over time and time again from the top martial arts perspective, $4,000 challenge, 4 years, 15 hits in 1.2 to 1.4 seconds. Of course, I've gone over this time and time again. Tell me if you like me speaking quickly or slowly. At this point, I'm pretty much on my way out, so I'm trying to wrap this up. You'll have to excuse me. I've been hopelessly betrayed by America, and I'm on my way out, and my parents are being fumed and stuff, and certainly will lead to a falling out, and I'll have to leave under negative circumstances because of our disagreement, our philosophical disagreement, as it relates to the course of America and moral relativism and meeting Americans halfway to blend in, versus sticking to your beliefs and your morals. So the Yamen is the headquarters or residence of a Chinese government official or department. The Yakuza, yak is ox, right? Yakuza is a ninja society. ISIS using ninja tactics, a lot of fuming, a lot of illusion, a lot of underhanded tactics used in society and martial arts. I wouldn't chop it up to the Japanese alone, but this is the globalist spread of dark side philosophies. Nero, Rome, Germanicus origin. Okay, Nero's name, his full name has a Germanicus origin, according to the book. Tetrahedron, four faces, polyhedron, how it relates to the capstone and how it doesn't truly fit. And it goes back to the tetragrammaton. A lot of you in the occult are probably familiar with it. A lot of you into the Kabbalah and what is this other, I forgot what it's called, but this other book the Jews use with mysticism and so on. Yahweh, you know, the four letters, tetragrammaton, gramma is letters, right? So grammar, you know, phonetics, phonics, the phoenix bird, vowel, good spell, go spell, I go over that all the time, right? Gospel, you know. So YHWH or JHVH, some people turn the V upside down and get Jah where the H is on the fence. Certainly that must be one place it comes from. The dart, you know, the mask coming. Because of their fuming and so on, I might start very well wearing a mask because I'm breaking out with these chemical burns from the fumes and maybe even the shower. I don't know where they're coming from, but there's a lot of chemical burns on my face starting to show. So, you know, it brings us to Darth Vader, right? A Dart Vader, okay? So you can get the Y V or Y Ve, you know, Vador, you know, some kind of play on the tetragrammaton is kind of a stretch. I'm not sure. I'm just throwing that out there. A dart is a light spear of quick movement. The devil throwing a dart at your brain. Darts come in different forms. Okay, the four connected pieces of the the tetralogy is the four connected pieces of the Dionysian festival, Attic stage, right? Attica. Okay, the attic. What is in the attic? What's in your closet? What's in your fucking What's in your closet? What's in your motherfucking attic, right? Serial killers love floorboards, the attic of the church, and so on. Okay, and he's Rosalind Temple, Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons. You'll see stuff like this. There's certain truths to it. So we live in a society where it's a social Darwinist and intellect over superstition, spirit rapping perspective, right? Communications by rap, different songs that incorporate rhythm, the devil and music. Okay, so it's spirit rapping is communications by rap held to be from spirits of the dead. Spiritual, it can also mean of breathing of wind, right? Set is the Lord of the Storm. You can imagine spirituality versus religion favors Set and El and pagan scum who are jealous. And just like Naka means all. Okay, Naka means all. I'll put a picture, it won't hurt my eyes too much, of this one drink I got. It's Japanese. It means all. Naka, the Indian, Indonesia, the dragon, and so on. He connects it to Japan. So we get stationary, right? What is your station in life? Stationary. What is the purpose of stationary, right? Airy. Okay. Statistics. Galton was a statistician. Start also means handicap or position in a race. So when you look up start in the Webster's, the one I used, it says handicap or position in a race can also be where you start. You know, a head start, right? Why do they have a head start? Because they want you to use your brain and not your heart, because they're cheating scum, just like Sublime, going back to rap, right? To convert something inferior to something of higher worth, look it up. You can't make it up. You know, you might get the limestone, right? What are with all due respect, British people called limeys, right? Robin Hood, Band of Thieves, Sublime is a band, a superstar, a star who is considered extremely talented, Repham, you know, Ripham, superstition, irrational, abject attitude of mind toward the supernatural nature of God resulting from superstition is what they termed it as. Super order, superstructure, super system, superordinate, above, right? All these things have to do with secret society structures and their idea of a collective Superman of the night stars, right? All stars, Converse, all stars, Naka, the Indian deities, Jainism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and what the purpose of Jainism was. Look it up. You know, it was to challenge the logos of the Hindu structure, which also was at odds with the Christian structure. So which is also the regular Christian structure, is at odds with the British Luciferian Christian structure. So India was really a mess when it comes to a real, truthful, true gospel Christian perspective. You had all this